Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're super proud to be sponsoring the conference with so many great visitors and so many great guests. Today, I'll be talking a little bit about my company, Arkham Intelligence. So first of all, what is Arkham exactly? What is our vision? What we've wanted to implement within Arkham has been an on-chain analytics platform that is focused on bringing trust and transparency to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Now, how exactly have we managed to do that? We have done this by building one of the world's best blockchain analytics platforms focused on the de-anonymization of cryptocurrency addresses, and namely attempting to put an identification behind all of the major wallets across the world, across a variety of different blockchains. This has led to a large number of traders, different kinds of institutions, be it regulatory or financial, coming to Arkham in order to get information about what all of the world's traders are doing. Who are the people who are buying and selling cryptocurrencies, for example. And in this comes a major opportunity for us to fulfill an even larger vision, which is having a centralized place where people are able to come to understand what's going on in the crypto market, look at our analytics, and ultimately be able to place trades. So let's go through a little bit of the information about Arkham Intel. There are many people who have maybe seen us on Twitter or potentially even used our platform, but don't necessarily understand the scale or breadth of what our platform can do. Many traders or different researchers or even journalists have used Arkham in order to try to understand the different people operating in the cryptocurrency space. As far as the actual numbers, we have labeled over 1.9 billion addresses, or we're close, likely within the coming days, to come to over 2 billion addresses on the blockchain labeled. And while that's important, an even more important figure is the amount of volume that has actually been labeled by Arkham Intelligence. And this is about 78% of all transactions have been labeled with one of the sender or the recipient of the transaction having been attributed by our platform. From these 78% of transactions, this is equivalent to something like $385 trillion of blockchain data that have been labeled by our platform. Now, how exactly does the Arkham platform work? Many people have sort of been mystified by our technology and the ways in which we've managed to be able to produce so much information and labels about what's going on chain. We start similar to everybody else. We have managed to run our own data infrastructure in order to get information from the blockchains directly. And this comes to us in the form of pseudonymous information and addresses, raw data directly from the blockchain, which is incredibly difficult to use and very difficult to search. So while blockchains by default are very transparent and auditable, you might not actually know what you're looking at. All you see is a string of hashes of people sending money between one another, but you have no context on who those people are. Are they individuals? Are they institutions? And what are they moving the money around for? So we take all of this information, and in order to synthesize it in the most helpful possible manner, we bring it to our engineering and data science teams, and with some of the research and development that we've done internally, we are then able to categorize the different addresses, show entity classification. So this means actually taking the addresses and figuring out the clusters of who they belong to and which ones are actually closer together versus farther apart. Using publicly available information and metadata in order to then classify the different addresses. You know, is this an exchange? Is this an individual? Is it a trader? Is it a fund? Is it a market maker? And then using different types of machine learning and other sorts of data science tools in order to then actually have the identification. This then gets uploaded into one single platform, which is the Arkham Intel platform, where you have all of the de-anonymized cryptocurrency users in a single place, which is searchable via our database. And for those of you who are using our platform in a more sophisticated manner, you can use our API in order to do this at scale. Now, what does having a database of all of these different users within the cryptocurrency industry actually entail? What can you get out of it? Once you've managed to build and collect all of this information, what as a trader or as a researcher or journalist are you actually able to do? Well, for starters, having a collection of all of the addresses of a particular entity gives you a sense for their portfolio. It shows you what their current holdings are, but also, given that the blockchain is immutable and forever, allows you to see what they've also held in the past. It allows you to see this across every major blockchain that we support, not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and Tron and Solana. And as the industry continues to develop and people continue using more blockchains, either layer 1s or L2s, gives you the ability to have a holistic picture of their positioning across the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. Whereas if you're just looking at a single wallet on a single chain, you might not have the entire picture of what exactly they're investing in. And across all of these things, of course, you can then get an understanding for how big of a position they have on chain. You know, is this a whale or is it somebody who's significantly smaller? But bringing all these pieces of information together across all different blockchains and addresses gives you a much better sense for this information. Bringing it to a much more granular level, we're able to look at the exact transactions that are being made by the entity, institution, or individual. We can analyze their top counterparties. We can visualize a network of everyone who they've ever sent funds to. And we can see what sorts of exchanges or services they're using. This can be particularly important, for example, in cases of hacks. In the case of the Bybit hack, most recently, people have been using the Arkham intelligence platform in order to visualize and assess exactly what the Bybit hacker has been doing with the hacked funds and tracing those funds across blockchains, in most cases Ethereum and Bitcoin, to actually understand where the funds are going and how the funds are actually being laundered. Once you have all of the information about the transactions and their portfolio, this then gives you another layer of information, which is the cost basis of the person, their daily profits and losses, as well as their cumulative profit and loss. And this gives you a sense for example, how good of a trader a particular entity is. Maybe that's somebody who you might want to copy trade or try to understand more about what they're doing because they can move markets, for example. And this all leads me to a new paradigm that has been created by the emergence of not just Arkham, but the on-chain analytics industry as a whole, which is what we like to call the new TA. And this is transaction analysis as opposed to technical analysis. So the previous kind of theme of the industry, prior to this sort of emergence of new on-chain information being used for trading, was technical analysis. It was looking at price action, looking at different graphs, and trying to understand whether an asset was going to go up or down based on its previous price performance. As we know, previous price performance is no indication of what an asset is likely to do in the future. And so instead, what we now have is something that's much more powerful, which is transaction analysis. And what we describe as transaction analysis is actually looking at the movements on-chain of particular entities or other kinds of players within the cryptocurrency space to try to understand what they're investing in, what they're buying, what they're selling, and where. And whether those things are likely to have an impact on the market, whether they're likely to have an impact on news, and create volatility in any sense, whether it be up or down. This kind of transaction analysis has been super popularized, primarily by Arkham. And if you go on Twitter on any given day, you could look at all of this different kind of information and see, for example, whether on this particular day, MicroStrategy or Michael Saylor are buying Bitcoin. And using that kind of information to determine whether or not you should yourself be allocating significantly more money into a particular asset. But it isn't just analyzing companies like MicroStrategy. We have managed to produce information about the largest market makers in the world, exchanges, the inflows and outflows from these different types of businesses. Another highly popularized type of entity to look at their transactions has been governments, looking at the United States government now, for example. One of the things that was discussed in one of the previous talks here was whether or not it was true that the United States government actually held 200,000 Bitcoin or some equivalent to that. How do you actually know that information? How can you audit the amount of Bitcoin or other kind of cryptocurrency that any of these entities have? Luckily, we've managed to create a platform that is able to do that in an automated manner, in a way where you can go on the Arkham Intelligence platform, you can search for the United States government, and you can see the full history of where they've gotten all of their Bitcoin from, when they acquired it, what the average cost basis was, did it come from potentially an arrest, coming from a darknet market, where they seized all of that Bitcoin, or did it come from a different kind of source? And is it now being moved into a different place for example, a Bitcoin strategic reserve? And if you're looking at this information, that might be the kind of thing that could be market-moving news, and therefore something that you can take advantage of as a trader. So looking at it from a historical perspective, sort of zooming out, we've been on the details of on-chain analytics and how exactly you can use it in order for your personal benefit. But where does this all come from, and how has it evolved over time? The way we view this at Arkham is that trading and the information that emerges from trading has evolved throughout the centuries. A lot of the first forms of trading weren't even digital. This is a relatively new phenomenon. Previously, when people were trading in markets, for example, or bartering, as you see in the top left-hand corner, there's no information being produced about these trades. I could give you a gold coin in exchange for a sack of potatoes, and the only place where this information would be written would be if the merchant decided to, for example, produce a receipt, which only they saw or potentially I saw. All of this kind of commerce and all of these different merchants have then evolved into something a bit more sophisticated in the top right-hand corner, which is trading pits. So these are places where, in a centralized manner, in a market, information is being produced about what assets, in this case, securities or stocks, for example, have been bought and sold. And this used to be done in person. Prior to the internet, the place where you would actually go in order to acquire these different types of papers in exchange for money was in these sort of centralized trading pits. But now, as technology has progressed and the internet has evolved, it's all moved online. And so if you're buying or selling stocks, you can now do this from your computer, you can do this from your phone. There are a variety of different internet brokerages where you can submit trades, send the money completely electronically, and there's a record being kept on your device, on the broker's device, and potentially by a regulator such as the SEC. But it's not viewable by anyone else, except in cases where there's a required regulatory filing, for example. If you're the owner of more than 10% of a publicly traded stock, you're required to submit a disclosure within, let's say, 90 days that you have taken that position. However, what we're seeing in the cryptocurrency space is something completely different. It's the first time in history where any trade and transaction that people have made across different wallets on a particular chain has been recorded and viewable and can be monitored by any other player across the globe. We're able to see all of these different assets, be it Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, or any other number of assets. We can see in real time who the largest holders are, when they buy these assets, when they sell these assets, and their pattern and behaviors from across the globe at any point in time. And this is something that has never existed before. So how much has it actually taken off? How much traction has happened within the on-chain analytics ecosystem? Just within the Arkham community alone, we have managed to find a number of different people who are interested in what our technology is producing. That has gone incredibly viral online. This is all culminated in something like 6.5 million registered users for the Arkham Intelligence platform, 2.5 million people coming to our site every month, millions more, of course, being able to benefit from our technology and from the information on our platform online, for example, on Twitter. That number is a bit more opaque and significantly much larger. And something like 2,000 Arkham VIPs who are dedicated to our community exclusively within on-chain analytics. So where to next? Where do we go for Arkham now that we've managed to create an on-chain analytics platform that's being used by millions of different people and primarily traders? Our next step as a business has been to grow the Arkham Exchange, a place where rather than looking at analytics and what's going on in the market and switching from our website to another place to actually trade, you can do it all in a single place. So this means having a transparent website where people are able to do the thing that people do the most within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, which is trade spot and derivative tokens, via a central limit order book, and trading a variety of different products such as spot and perpetuals. We offer this to a number of different retail and institutional customers, and we're super proud to have launched in certain states within the US. Now, what's cool about this is we actually offer one of the only platforms where, in real time, people are able to go onto the Arkham Intelligence platform and see our proof of funds and proof of reserves in real time. Everything that is being held on the Arkham exchange is viewable within our platform in terms of the different assets that users are depositing and withdrawing, where they're going, where they're coming from. And this is something that even some of the largest and most trusted exchanges in the world don't offer. In order to actually understand where your money is, it requires something like a third-party audit or going through different kinds of public filings from third-party auditors to try to understand where is my Bitcoin. And this is on top of a number of other awesome features that we've managed to promote via the Arkham exchange. And this all comes to culminate into an integrated trading and intelligence platform, using on-chain analytics in order to determine what trades you actually want to place, and then having a single website and UI where you can do that all in a single place. Looking at top holders, filtering transactions, visualizing different blockchain networks and the largest traders on them, and then immediately clicking on that particular asset within Arkham and placing your own trades. This all culminates into our vision from world historical information, where we were in the past to where we are now, to delivering all of this intelligence and analytics, spot and derivatives trading, as well as news and research, all in a single platform. Thank you all very much, and you can find us on arkham.com.